There's something about libraries that changes when the lights go down. During the day, they're sanctuaries of knowledge, filled with the quiet rustle of pages and the soft footsteps of people searching for answers. But after hours, when the last patron leaves and the doors are locked, libraries become something else entirely. The rows of books stretch into darkness. The silence becomes absolute, the kind of silence where you can hear every creak of the old building settling, every whisper of air through the ventilation system. And in that silence, it becomes impossible not to wonder, are you really alone among all those thousands of books? Or is someone, or something, watching from the shadows between the stacks? Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true stories from people who worked in libraries after everyone else had gone home. These aren't stories about typical workplace experiences or petty crimes. These are accounts of deeply disturbing encounters that made them question their own senses, and their safety. These stories were submitted by real people. For their privacy, names and some identifying details have been changed, but the core of what happened remains true. So turn down your lights, and let me tell you what happened when these 3 people realized they weren't as alone as they thought. Emily was a senior at State University when she took a job as a closing assistant at the main campus library. The pay was decent, the work was easy, and most importantly, it gave her a quiet place to study. Her shift ran from 7 p.m. to midnight, Tuesday through Friday. The library officially closed at 11, so her job was simple: do a sweep of all 6 floors to make sure everyone had left, lock the doors, spend the last hour shelving returns and tidying up, then set the alarm and go home. The building was old, built in 1923, with that distinctive architecture of grand university libraries. High ceilings, dark wood paneling, wrought iron staircases connecting the floors. There was also a basement level, used mostly for archives and older books that weren't in regular circulation. Emily didn't like going down there. The ceiling was lower, the lighting was worse, and there was something about the atmosphere that felt heavy. But it was part of her sweep, so down she went every night. The first month was uneventful. She'd make her rounds, rarely finding anyone still studying past closing. The few times she did, they were always apologetic, gathering their things quickly. By the end of October, she'd gotten comfortable with the routine. Then she started finding the chairs. It was a Thursday night, late October. Emily did her usual sweep, starting at the top floor and working her way down. When she reached the basement, she found something odd. One of the chairs from the reading area had been pulled away from the table and positioned in the aisle between 2 shelving units. It was facing down the aisle, as if someone had been sitting there, reading. Emily frowned. She'd been down here 20 minutes earlier for her initial sweep, and the chair had been at the table then. She must have missed someone. But that was impossible. She'd walked every aisle, looked in every corner. The basement wasn't that large. She called out, "Hello? Library's closed. You need to head out." Silence. Just the hum of the ventilation system. Emily walked down the aisle, looking between the shelves as she passed. Nothing. She put the chair back at the table and finished her shift, trying to shake the uneasy feeling. The next night, she found it again. Same chair, same aisle, same position. This time, there was a book on the floor next to it. A thick volume about medieval European history. Emily picked it up. The checkout card inside was old-fashioned, the kind they didn't use anymore. The last stamped date was from 1987. "Okay," Emily said aloud, her voice sounding small in the empty basement. "This is weird." She did a thorough check. Every aisle, every corner, behind every shelf unit she could access. Nothing. No one. The basement had only one entrance, the staircase she'd just come down. No windows. No other way out. Emily took the chair and the book upstairs. She told her supervisor about it the next morning. He shrugged it off. "Probably just students pulling a prank," he said. Maybe someone was hiding until after her sweep and then leaving through the emergency exit. That exit would set off an alarm, Emily pointed out. Okay, he said, then maybe they were propping the emergency exit open beforehand. He'd have maintenance check it. But Emily knew what she'd seen. The emergency exit had been secure. And more importantly, she'd felt it. That sense of being watched. She'd felt it all week in the basement, that crawling sensation on the back of her neck. The following Tuesday, she decided to change her routine. She'd do her initial sweep as usual, but then she'd go straight to the basement and wait. Hide in the stacks near the entrance and watch to see if someone really was messing with her. She did her rounds of the upper floors first, then went down to the basement at 11:10. She found a position in the corner near the staircase where she had a clear view of the reading area and most of the aisles. She turned off her flashlight and waited in the darkness. 20 minutes passed. Nothing moved. Emily's eyes adjusted to the dim emergency lighting. She was beginning to feel foolish. This was stupid. She had work to do upstairs. Then she heard it. A soft scraping sound. Like something being dragged across the floor. Emily's breath caught. She stayed absolutely still, her eyes scanning the visible parts of the basement. There. Movement. Someone was pulling the chair out from the table. She couldn't see who it was. They were in the shadows beyond the reading area. But she could see the chair moving. Her hand trembled as she pulled out her phone. She should call campus security. But she didn't. Something told her not to move, not to make a sound. Instead, she took a video. Through her phone's screen, she watched the chair settle in the aisle. Then she saw him. A man. He walked into the reading area, selected a book from one of the nearby shelves, and sat down in the chair. He was maybe in his 40s, wearing what looked like dark, rumpled clothes. He opened the book and began to read, tilting the pages to catch what little light reached that far from the emergency fixtures. Emily's heart was pounding. She needed to confront him or call security. This man had been hiding in the library after hours, for who knows how long. But something about the way he moved made her hesitate. There was something wrong about it. His movements were too deliberate, too slow. She watched him read for 5 minutes. He never looked up. Never moved except to turn pages. Then Emily's phone vibrated. A text from her roommate. The man's head snapped toward her instantly. Emily's blood went cold. She hadn't made a sound, but somehow he knew exactly where she was. His face turned toward her hiding spot. And in the dim light, she saw his eyes. Or where his eyes should have been. There was something wrong with his face, like it was blurred, indistinct. He stood up. The book fell to the floor. And he started walking toward her. Emily ran. She didn't think, she just bolted for the stairs. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Not running, just walking, but somehow keeping pace. She took the stairs 2 at a time, burst through the door into the main floor, and ran for the front entrance. Her hands shook so badly she could barely work the keys. She got the door unlocked, threw it open, and didn't stop running until she was in the parking lot. Only then did she look back. Through the library's windows, she could see the main floor. Empty. Nothing moving. But as she watched, the lights in the basement, visible through small windows near the ceiling line, went out. One section at a time. As if someone was walking through, turning them off. Emily called campus security from her car. They arrived 10 minutes later and did a complete sweep of the building with her supervisor, who they'd woken up. They found nothing. No one in the basement. No signs of forced entry or tampering with the emergency exits. The chair was at the table where it should be. But they did find something else. In the maintenance closet in the basement, behind some old equipment, they found evidence someone had been living there. A sleeping bag. Empty food containers. Water bottles. And books. Dozens of books, stacked neatly, all of them about European history. The police were called. They estimated someone had been hiding there for at least 3 to 4 weeks based on the accumulation of trash. But what disturbed Emily most was what the police told her. The sleeping bag was vintage, from the 1980s. So were the water bottles. The style hadn't been manufactured since 1992. The food containers were for products that no longer existed. And the books. When she checked, the last checkout date on every single one was from 1987. Security footage was reviewed. There was nothing. No one entering or leaving the basement during the times the chair had been moved. Emily's phone video showed her running up the stairs. But the footage before that, when she claimed she'd seen the man, it showed an empty basement. Just the chair, moving by itself. Pulling out from the table. Settling in the aisle. And a book, falling from a shelf. Landing open on the floor. Emily quit the next day. She'd work somewhere else, she decided. Anywhere else. Because she'd done research, talked to some of the history librarians. In 1987, there had been a graduate student who'd practically lived in that library. He'd been writing his dissertation on medieval Europe. He'd been found dead one morning in the basement, apparently of a heart attack, slumped in a chair between the stacks. The library had a reading area dedicated to his memory on the main floor. There was a plaque with his name and a photo. Emily had seen that face before. 2 nights ago. In the basement. Reading a book in the darkness. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what happened 3 weeks after she quit. She got a notification from the library. She still had books checked out. But Emily hadn't checked out any books. She logged into her library account and saw it. 3 books checked out under her name the previous night at 11:37 p.m. All 3 were about medieval European history.